Mozambique, lack of medical information leads many to fear contact with AIDS patients. Taipei Tzu Chi Hospital held a camp for new employees, taking them to meet care recipients. I'm Sean Scanlan. This is DaAi Headlines. In the country of Mozambique, many youth think that sharing tableware and kissing an AIDS patient will transmit the AIDS virus. This has led many AIDS patients to have feelings of shame and feel more isolated. For 25-year-old Sarah, who is skinny and suffering from AIDS, this problem became more serious as she was abandoned by her family. Fortunately, the village chief and his wife provided her with food and care.
Remote villages lack information and knowledge, and no one dares to talk about AIDS. Those that have AIDS hide themselves away from society. Chi volunteers go there to provide care. Sarah, who is 25 years old, is suffering from AIDS and isolates herself in a small area of stacked cement bricks.
She has been suffering from AIDS for a year. Her family won't allow her to go home, fearing to have transmitted with AIDS. After getting in touch with her, someone has built this room for her to stay.
Sarah's limbs are as thin as bamboo. She has been isolating herself since she got the disease.
She came to my home to ask for assistance. When she has been suffering from AIDS and is abandoned by her family, she was so weak. When she came to our village, I was very worried. It seemed that she needed medication. I advised her to continue the medical treatment so as to get well.
Seeing this girl is just like seeing my daughter, so I take care of her and provide her with food. I think she needs her family's company.
Namatanda, which is located at Savannah province, is one of the areas with the highest infection rate of AIDS in Mozambique. People's ignorance and prejudice may be more fatal than the disease itself.
Some people consider this something strange, or they are afraid in their community. People will be afraid of talking to that person, sharing food, or even shaking hands. They may think that if they do that, they will also get HIV.
AIDS is not a terminal illness. It is hoped that through active hygiene education, it will no longer be a cursed word.
In May, Tzu Chi distributed farming supplies to help local farmers in Mozambique cultivate and restart their fields. Volunteers also took the opportunity to meet with them again and see how the farmers are doing with their new supplies. They found that their vegetable farm is doing better than before, as the seeds Tzu Chi gave were of better quality, which in the end helped their crops.
The field of cabbage is green as the eye can see. This is Joaquin Felipe's field, though it didn't look like this in May.
When Cyclone Idai landed, this area we're standing in was submerged underwater. The water level was at the height of that tree over there.
After the flood receded, Felipe received Tzu Chi's farming pack, and it helped him rebuild his farm field.
The seeds from Tzu Chi are better quality than the ones I've had. The cabbage grown are bigger than before. I don't need to farm other vegetables. With these alone, I can make a living.
With nearly 9.5 acres of land, Felipe is considered to have one of the bigger farms in Tika. On average, he makes about 2,000 Mozambican metikal, which is about $32 US.
Each week I go to the Tika market to sell. A vendor from Berea comes to buy from me too. I sell the small ones for about 25 metikal and the large ones for 35. In a month, I can make around 2,000 metikal.
Jaime Antonio is also a farmer who has received Tzu Chi's assistance.
After receiving Tzu Chi's farm pack, we used the seeds to grow vegetables and sell it to make money. The money we made, we purchased items and things for the children's education and oil for the pump machine. It has been an immense help.
With nearly 3 acres of land, Jaime has planted corn and a variety of vegetables. While waiting for harvest, he still has plenty of worries.
We didn't used to get so many bugs here, but after Idai, it washed in many different bugs and has affected our harvest.
Yet Jaime is still very invested in his farm.
Their vegetables are very beautiful, and they were going to gift us some as a souvenir, but we feel since they have worked this hard in caring for them, instead we will purchase it from them. This way they can still maintain their livelihood.
Post-Cyclone Idai, these farmers can continue their agricultural work thanks to Tzu Chi's assistance.
The Tzu Chi assessment team has investigated 32 schools and locations for Great Love villages in Mozambique. 3 special Tzu Chi volunteers from South Africa traveled to Mozambique to cook food for this assessment team to provide encouragement and support for their hard work.
The Tzu Chi teams must leave in the early morning and return late at night every day, so they have learned to fall asleep right away.
The relief team is overexerting themselves because they have to take turns cook food, eat, and also have meetings. And after the meetings are over, they must do their own work. So everyone has to stay up late into the night, even to 1 or 2 in the morning. So we decided to help them.
South Africa Tzu Chi volunteers are in Mozambique, cooking meals for these volunteers.
I'm very moved and thankful to our South African volunteers for their help. When we are very exhausted and hungry, they have prepared these abundant dishes for us.
Many of the ingredients are not available in Mozambique, so it is very wonderful to be able to enjoy Taiwanese family-like dishes here.
I feel these sisters are fantastic because they treat us like their kids, and I'm grateful. From the last time we came to this time, I'm sorry they have worked so hard.
When I return to Taiwan, people are surprised that I've gained weight from disaster surveys. Our work is mostly riding in cars and sitting in chairs, but these volunteers have to stand all day long and cook food. It is not easy for them. Yesterday, I just realized that they are all over 60 years old.
The assessment team eat while having a meeting together. The family-style cooking is their best spiritual food.
Taipei Tzu Chi Hospital held an introductory camp for new employees. Volunteers seized the chance to bring these new medical care employees to visit Tzu Chi care recipients. This interaction exposed them to Tzu Chi's humanitarian mission and taught them to wholeheartedly care for patients at the hospital.
The room is full of clutter. This is where a senior couple lives, but the wife injured her foot, so she is not able to clean her home.
Care recipient's home is filled with a lot of items. There are many mice and cockroaches. We seized this introductory camp for new employees to help them repair and clean their home.
Taipei Tzu Chi Hospital held an introductory camp for new employees, with more than 30 incoming medical professionals seizing the chance to learn how to conduct wholehearted care.
As a nurse, we are more concerned about the patient's living conditions. If we can find out their problems earlier, we can lend a hand in their time of need. As the kitchen is where the food is produced, the nutritionist who is responsible for cleaning this place pays attention to every detail. The kitchen is very important because if we keep it clean, the food we cook will be healthier. If the kitchen is dirty, then the food will be polluted, and we will fall ill if we eat it. That's why I have cleaned the kitchen carefully, so that the food we eat will be healthier too.
The bathroom is another place that is often filled with dirt. Chen Wenxu and another colleague have cleaned it for more than 2 hours before finally restoring the bathroom to its former look.
Normally, I do not pay attention to these underprivileged groups, but through this opportunity today, we realize there are still many people who need our help. If there's any chance in the future, of course, I'm very willing to serve.
Through the half-day home visitation, new medical professionals of the Taipei Tzu Chi Hospital have seen the needs of the dark corner of society, and they will continue to carry out their medical mission.
A Tzu Chi care recipient in Taichung was bedridden for 9 years because of arthritis in his back. This led him to feel helpless, and his home was full of debris and was quite smelly. More than 20 Tzu Chi volunteers cleaned his home, providing him with a clean living environment. For such individuals, the most important thing is to let them feel that someone cares for them and that they are not alone in this world.
On this day, 25 Chi volunteers went to Mr. Zhang's home with cleaning supplies.
He has congenital ankylosing spondylitis and cannot lift his head, so he always looks down when walking.
Mr. Zhang used to be a bank clerk and an intellectual. However, he has been in bed for 9 years since he fell ill. Although he wants to live a clean life, he is unable to clean his home. Chi volunteers have helped him. Volunteers move him out in the sunshine before cleaning the house. Chi volunteers worked together to clean his house thoroughly. Walls were cleaned several times, while the mattress was also lifted up to clean underneath. Volunteers with white hair worked very hard so as to give him a clean space. The whole house was cleaned thoroughly, clearing out many things.
Since he has been lying for a long time, he has many complications like kidney stones, constipation, intestinal obstruction, and urinary tract infection.
Chi volunteers came to visit him every week. This time, everyone worked together to clean up his house. Although Mr. Zhang finds it inconvenient to move, he knows that some people care for him and hence he remains optimistic.
"23-year-old Miss Chen suffers from chronic nasal allergies. The symptoms worsened half a year ago, with the pain often becoming truly unbearable. After her diagnosis, doctors suggest a new type of minimally invasive procedure. A week after her treatment, she felt much better and was able to get on a plane without fearing the cabin pressure.
23-year-old Miss Chen has a history of nasal allergy. She recovered from an ear infection when she was young. As an adult, she still sometimes feels pain in her ears. 6 months prior, she caught a cold which worsened her ear pain. With the fluid buildup in her ear, it was affecting her life.
The first time I got a cold, I felt pressure in my ears and was very dizzy. The second time I got a cold, the pressure was so bad, it affected my ability to hear.
Doctors suggest eustachian tuboplasty as a treatment option.
When the pressure builds to a certain level, it affects one's hearing. We discussed the options with her, and since it was worse on the right side, we would insert a ventilation tube when we do the balloon eustachian tuboplasty. The soft tube would fall out on its own. Then we'll see the condition of her ear, while on the left, we would just do the balloon eustachian tuboplasty on its own.
Balloon eustachian tuboplasty is performed using endoscopic tools to thread a balloon catheter through the nose and into the cartilage portion of the eustachian tube. The balloon is then inflated for a couple of minutes before deflating and removal of the balloon. After the cartilage portion is widened, it remains in that position. Plus, since there is no actual incision, there is less side effects. Shortly after the procedure, Ms. Chen went on a trip, and she didn't feel dizzy nor pressure buildup at all on the plane.
It was about a week after surgery, and I was afraid, so I asked the doctor. He said I should chew gum on the plane. I did on the way there, but not on the return flight, and there was no problem.
Eustachian tube dysfunction is when the tube is blocked due to sinus symptoms, allergies, fluid retention from increased acid reflux, or even from nasopharyngeal tumor pressures. If left untreated, it could lead to an ear infection and even impair one's hearing. Doctors suggest if liquid chronically accumulates in the ear, or if the symptoms persist without alleviation for 3 months, then balloon eustachian tuboplasty is a good treatment option, as it is minimally invasive, which lessens the pain factor, quick recovery, and yields very good results.
Some people feel air pressure build up in the ear when climbing to high altitudes, whether by plane or hiking. These type of symptoms can typically last for many days instead of clearing up immediately. Though it's not a big deal, sometimes it affects a person's well-being. Let's take a look at how to protect our ears from this problem.
I got a cold, then felt pressure in my ears and was very dizzy. It was overall uncomfortable.
According to statistics, there are 1% of adults in the world that suffer from eustachian tube dysfunction, while that percentage for the youth is as high as 40%.
它的耳咽管的角度比较平一点点。
Their eustachian tube angle is flatter, and also their width is narrower, so it makes it more difficult for discharge from the middle ear to travel to the nasal passage. At the same time, the air from the nasal passage also doesn't get into the middle as easy, and that's why they are prone to eustachian tube dysfunction.
Though listening to loud music on the headphone may harm the hearing, it is not the cause of ETD. The main cause is congenital narrow eustachian tube, genetics, and those prone to allergies.
年轻人
Young people tend to have nasal allergies, and if they experience acid reflux or are prone to catching the cold, their eustachian tube might suffer from chronic inflammation.
The eustachian tube is where our body adjusts to air pressure from the middle ear. Blockage in the tube may cause ventilation problems, which is why our ears may feel full and pressurized.
耳咽管功能不好。
When the eustachian tube is not functioning correctly, it adds pressure to our middle ear, which also means it is prone to infection.
No matter if it's acute or chronic, if the ear infection is left untreated, hearing could be impaired, which could potentially affect one's focus, learning ability, and communication. Visit a doctor immediately if pain in the ear persists and hearing is decreased. Doctors suggest protecting the eustachian tube by keeping the ear canal clean, but not overly cleaning the canal by removing earwax. Avoid getting water into the ear while swimming and before climbing high altitudes to swallow water, or chewing gum to alleviate the air pressure buildup within the ear.
In recent years in the summer, metropolitan areas are quite hot because of the reduction of green space, discharge from air conditioning equipment, and traffic pollution. This results in what many call a heat island effect, with an abnormal increase in temperature, which can cause more people to experience heat stroke. How serious is this problem in Taiwan? Let's take a look. In the summer this year led all parts of Taiwan to simmer with high temperatures, especially urban areas. Cement buildings and roads store the heat from sunlight, which cannot be dissipated in the city. The heat island effect makes urban temperatures higher and higher.
After 10 years, global warming will intensify, and Taiwan will need to pay more attention to the development of the urban heat island effect. Therefore, in 10 years or 20 years, our Taiwan should have a temperature of more than 40 degrees Celsius. In many places, there should not be a problem.
现在才7月刚开始，对啊，嘿，然后就觉得已经热到受不了了。
热吗？有感觉越来越热吗？
Temperatures in urban areas reach 40 C, caused by the heat island effect. The so-called heat island effect means temperatures are much higher than the suburbs. Urban areas are higher because of this effect. In Taiwan, Taipei is the most serious as it sits in the Taipei Basin.
For Taipei City, over the past 3 years, an average of 70 days are more than 35 degrees Celsius. The daily temperature is over 35 degrees Celsius. There are about 70 days in total. This number is the second highest in Asia.
According to meteorological data, the number of extreme high temperatures in the metropolitan areas of Taiwan is increasing more frequently. Take Taipei City as an example. The number of days with high temperatures exceeding 35 degrees Celsius from 2010 to 2015 increased by 11.1 days from the previous decade of 48 days, and in 2016 reached 77 days, and in 2017 there are 72 days, which is more than 2 months. This means every summer Taipei City is like a hot smoldering pot.
There will be 2 reasons causing the heat. One is the lack of green space because shade is reduced. The second one is the wind is blocked by our buildings. It does not circulate. This prevents heat exchange and causes heat to build up and accumulate.
According to results of temperature monitoring conducted by Li Zuping, professor at NCKU, the Shilin District, Guanhua District, Taipei Main Station, Zhongzhen District, Nangang Exhibition Hall, and Xinyi District in recent years have seen high summer temperatures above 35 degrees Celsius as designated by this red color.
Taipei's terrain is that of the basin, so it is hard for the heat to dissipate. So in the summer, Taipei usually has a more serious heat storage problem, especially in the evening, especially in new development areas.
Urban heat monitoring results for Taichung City from 2002 to 2011 have found that most of the scenic areas and those with slopes with fewer buildings and people have a lower thermal risk, but there are orange and red areas in the city center represent higher heat risks, especially in the Taichung railway station and industrial areas due to the overdevelopment and lack of thermal environment monitoring. There is high potential of temperatures in excess of 40 degrees Celsius in August.
If you are at home and it is cool, because of the air conditioning, the heat is actually going outdoors. And the second is a lot of traffic. Parts of the old city have streets that are relatively small, and it's a bit worse, so it will become a heat storage location.
The concentration of carbon dioxide was about 270 ppm before the Industrial Revolution. It has reached 360 ppm now. It continues to increase, our relative temperature will continue to rise. Peng Qiming says the heat wave will cause heat exhaustion in the city with medical treatment unable to cope with the demand for services. Also, transformer boxes can't bear the heat, and more social disorder caused by power spikes and power outages, and the discomfort of outdoor workers will make them ineffective.
The main cause of illness will be heat stroke or heat exhaustion, which usually occurs at noon. In fact, there is also a kind which affects the elderly or those with high blood pressure, who also have heart failure when heat is very hot. Death by heat and cold is the same, meaning it will cause high mortality.
Under the influence of global climate change and the greenhouse effect, the government must actively promote urban cooling strategy to effectively slow down the heat island effect. Otherwise, the health of citizens will be in danger. A Kaohsiung vocational school student once lived a rebellious and wayward life, but archery has allowed him to find new focus. These efforts have paid off as he and his partner recently won a gold medal in a mixed competition at the recent 2019 Asia Cup competition. That's all for now. Thank you. Goodbye.